Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Stephan Stelter. Excited to be with you for another episode of Cloud Chat with Stephan and Matt, and a third box who is joining us today for a conversation. Stan Cox, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for NetApp.
Sure. Thanks, Stephan. Thanks, Matt. I'm the director of our global data center footprint, as well as our IT infrastructure. So everything that from the walls inside the data center to the racks, my team supports. So whether that's compute, storage, network.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Racks, rack panels, airflow,
exactly.
HVAC.
Exactly. And I'll steal that word from you. Yes. Yikes.
Yikes, indeed. My goodness. Matt, how have you been?
Well, thank you. Looking forward to the chat today. I think we have an interesting topic. You know, Stephan, we were talking about how IT organizations have evolved over the era of cloud. And one of the topics that came up was, how we're looking at our infrastructure teams and how the traditional models have changed. And we've introducing words like guilds.
Indeed,
I figured,
yes,
it'd be fun to bring somebody in who actually has to manage in that new world and understand, is this just a marketing thing, or is this something that IT is really looking for to gain efficiency? So Stan, right. That's why we brought you in. Let's talk about not only the changing landscape with the cloud, but really focusing on the organizational pieces today.
Sure. Yeah, we've talked in the past about this idea of the stack and the way that the stack would get purchased and the way that people in the stack would interact, right? You'd get somebody who needs some storage and some compute, and there'd be networking people in the conversation. You'd have these three teams that are vying against each other, and an architectural committee who would decide whether certain things could or could not be used. And so excited to hear what things are looking like now in your world.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Whenever you say that word or somebody says that word guilds, I feel like I got to go like, ooh, guilds.
I have to get my 20-sided
secret organization, maybe a handshake involved.
There
maybe
should be a
tattoo somewhere.
Yeah, you got to do the old,
Yeah,
exactly.
Only meet around a campfire in the woods. That would
exactly. So sure, yeah. Let's talk about it. So
let's start with why the change. I mean, this has worked since time memorial. This traditional, you have a network team, a storage team, a compute team. So why change?
Well, the infrastructure, the landscapes are changing by the day. The minute that you think you're up to speed on the latest trend and you get it implemented, that's old news. Right. So, I mean, in our world, we took a step back and said, if the industry continues to change and we don't adapt, one, we're either going to be dinosaurs, or two, I'm going to continuously have attrition and or constantly be looking outside to bring in folks who understand the new technologies, right? And so it's not very cost efficient, if you look at it that way, as well as just the manageability and to be able to support the way that the industry is changing, made it very difficult in the, let's call it the traditional sport model or the legacy way. To your point, a storage team, a networking team, a compute team, etc. So when you take a look at how things are changing, we looked at our resources and, from an IT perspective, we adopted cloud quite a while ago. In fact, Matt, you were part of that journey, right? We're about 7 years in now of, building our own, private cloud. And when we did so, guess what? We had no cloud engineers. We had no cloud architects. So it was like, you going to be the architect? You going to be the engineer? And we sort of just, figured it out. We also hired some outside, consultation, et cetera, so that we could get some training. And then that sort of went by the wayside, right? So where are we today? Not only do we have a private cloud, but we have a hybrid model, right? We've introduced automation, we've introduced coding. So how do you support that? So what we did is we basically tore down our traditional structure and did some realignment, and we assigned what we call guilds. And these guilds essentially are a service tower, if you will, and it includes multiple people throughout the organization. So as an example, we may have an infrastructure as a service guild, right? And in that guild, instead of just having your traditional cloud architect or cloud engineer, we've got people that are involved with networking, with compute, with storage, folks who understand the cloud language, folks that understand the cloud tools. And really, it's a resource pool that essentially we can pull from and we can assign into these guilds. It provides us a tremendous amount of flexibility. And most importantly, what we're finding out now is, hey, we've got free training abroad. So we've got a network engineer who didn't understand, let's say, a cloud language or a cloud tool. All of a sudden now he or she is becoming a cloud expert just based off of the fact that they're in this guild where we're assigning workloads, we're talking strategy, we're talking architecture. And so now you've got this blend of resources all helping one another, trying to achieve the same goal.
So let me pause here because I have a whole bunch of questions. So I know Stephan has a whole bunch too. So let me get mine out there.
To it. You jumped in more quickly than I did. Well done.
So if I may summarize, so there's a couple of things that are changing. So the demand, the need for efficiencies, but you also mentioned, I would say the human piece, the human capital piece. There's a market interest in people coming, not just to become a storage person, but they want to have,
absolutely,
trying to hire people, they want a broader role.
Absolutely.
So is that true?
Yeah. I mean, in the old days, I would look for a storage engineer. I would look for a network engineer. Now I'm looking for a Swiss Army knife.
And
right?
and that's where the market is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now granted, there are many of companies out there that are still working in a traditional fashion because they're just trying to get up to speed. And in some cases, they may need a storage engineer or a network engineer. We're past that.
But you still need the expertise though, right? You still need someone who really understands storage really well, right?
Absolutely.
Or network really well.
Absolutely. And so when we set up these tribes, again,
tribes, hold on, you just introduced a new one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So now we have tribes these and guilds.
I'm sorry.
Let's talk a little bit about that real quick.
Tribes, sure, yeah. Sure. So the guild is the forum or the bucket, so to speak. And you have a guild leader. That guild leader could be a manager, right? Or we can now ask somebody who is a senior architect or maybe a senior engineer to now be exposed to managing and mentoring an environment and running a service. So an architect could be a guild leader, right? And so let's say one of the guilds happens just to be storage, because you can set up a storage guild if you'd like. Now, once you set up that guild, there's somebody who owns it, right? We've got a message and a direction in which we want to drive that particular guild. And now you need to bring people into that guild from all different walks of life. And now you've created a tribe, right? So now this tribe consists of various technology owners or expertise and whatnot. And so the tribe is what makes up that guild bucket, right? So the guild is, here's the service that we're going to provide. Somebody's going to own it. And then realistically, the tribe then fulfills that guild so that we can go and make stuff happen. So tribe, another sort of just crazy word for resources.
Interesting. Stephan, I know you're bursting at the seams here.
I am, yes. So what I don't know if it's a stage of life or what, but it's like, what happened to the old groups? So did people have to get assigned to guilds or did they get de-storaged?
Yeah.
Right. Do you have to go through like some type of a obstacle course to earn your guildship or your
to get into the guild? Yes.
Yeah. Blow the conch.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not easy because when you talk about creating guilds and talk about creating tribes, the first thing that comes into play is just shock value, right? It's the engineers, the architects, the project managers. You explain this ideology to them, this methodology that we want to take place, and they go, what?
Well, you lose all the structure. It is
Yeah.
kind of scary.
Yeah. And so let's take a storage engineer, for example. Storage engineer has been focused on storage things or NetApp products. And now we're saying, yes, you're still a storage expert, but guess what? We want you to be part of the cloud strategy plan. We want you to be part of the cloud architecture and designing phase, right? We want you, we're going through a huge network upgrade right now. And traditionally, it would just be a bunch of network engineers and maybe some operational folks, and you'd go and deploy it. Not the case now, because now that we're deploying a network, what about software-defined network? How does API calling come into play? How are we going to write Ansible scripts? How are we going to create a repository and a run book and all this sorts of stuff? So you can't do that with just a network engineer. So you got to assemble your tribe under a guild and make that happen. It's strange. It's completely different. Engineers are shocked, but they're now understanding that we can sort of get more things accomplished as they're getting acclimated and more comfortable with it. And it's still a work in progress, but we're making some strides. Today's all about speed and agility, and I got to do more with less.
So traditional approaches to management and organizations, you'd have these different groups and silos, and then you would have cross-functional teams, and then they would introduce these ideas of fully matrixed organizations as structures to provide maybe a formality to having a storage engineer meeting regularly with a network engineer, meeting regularly with a compute engineer or other infrastructure team member. So I'm trying to draw the distinctions out there. What makes a tribe, well, what makes a guild different than that? Because it feels different. And maybe because it doesn't seem so big brothery, like you are now part of this matrix and you must comply. Maybe that's a part of it.
So from a guild perspective versus a traditional perspective. So in the old days, I owned the storage team, the networking team, and the cloud team, right? Today, underneath the guilds, we sort of have resources from all those buckets, right? So my team, I'm going to have a storage guy, a network guy. There's going to be potentially a cloud guy and an operational guy, right? Then you go to another manager, he's going to have a storage guy, a network guy, and then we're going to separate those guilds based upon services. So this guild is delivering all cloud infrastructure. This guild is delivering all cloud strategy. This guild is delivering all compute, traditional infrastructure, compute, storage, network. So, but we all have the similar type of resources, if you will, that makes up a guild for that particular bucket.
So the guilds are a way to keep, for lack of a better word, the strategic elements tied through all these different subgroups.
There you go.
So they manage the standards, they manage what's coming next in the guilds. So when you're off doing your piece and another manager is off doing their piece, you're not going in different directions in terms of larger scale architecture or larger scale standardization. You're still managing to those basics. You're just finding more efficiencies in how you're delivering them.
Correct. And that particular manager may not reach out to me and say, hey, Stan, I need one of your network guys, or I need one of your storage guys since you own network and storage. He has a network guy and he has a storage guy, and he's just responsible for delivering a particular service.
So they're arms of the same entity, all acting with a common practice.
Yeah, right. So whereas when you used to choose your resources before, or you would sort of deliver this project, you would say, hey, who owns the storage folks? Hey, who owns the network folks, right? And then you'd reach out to maybe 3 or 4 different managers. You'd have 3 or 4 different resources from each one of those managers, all sort of joining in on a powwow. From a guild perspective, if that falls underneath my service that I'm delivering, I have all the resources that I need.
It's got to be tremendously empowering to participants, instead of it being more of a, hey, here's the high level strategy we're setting at the executive level, and then you start implementing it at the manager level, and then having to pull in resources as you described before to try to figure out how to deliver on this vision across all of the different functional teams. It's seems so much more natural to have that whole thing. It feels like it just blends out a lot of those layers and makes it much more direct. Like, hey, we all know the strategy. The person who's turning the wrench to the person who's trying to craft it and implement it. It sounds really, really, really cool. I like
exactly. And you can, let's say, Matt creates a strategic roadmap for the year, right? And in that roadmap, there's a couple of different deliverables. Instead of reaching out to a bunch of different managers and a bunch of different resource, you just figure out what guild owns that service that pertains to that particular objective. And so Matt takes a look at his roadmap and he says, I want to virtualize my entire compute space. Who owns that? Ooh, Stan. All right, Stan, here's what I want to deliver. And then understands guild and Stan's tribe. I have all the resources necessary, and we just plunk them in accordingly, and then we execute.
Interesting. So how is the leader of the guild decided? Is that an appointed role, or is that
so we went through a transformation within our organization of assigning who's going to own what service. We assigned the guild leader at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're the appointed person. So they're the final authorities. For example, new technology XYZ comes out, we're choosing Z for our standard.
Yep.
They're the ultimate authority who says, now we're all going to manage to Z, manage all those internal discussions. So there's agreement. So then when they're all out in the tribes, we're not going again in multi directions and deviating from standards.
You nailed it. Nailed it.
Interesting. Very fascinating. So let me ask you then, I know we're early on. I remember when you guys, for us, kind of shared this new concept. It's only been a couple of months.
Yeah.
How's it working?
Well, we've had some changes, right? We've had some leaders go and we've had some leaders come. So, you take 2 steps forward and then you sort of take 1 step back, because you have to sort of re-explain, the theory behind this and the support model. But, knock on wood, relatively well. I think what we're figuring out is we probably have way too many meetings right now. and those tribe meetings are based around the guilds and what they're trying to deliver for a particular, project or for a particular request. So bringing everybody up to speed, talking the same language, understanding the area of responsibility. We have a lot of meetings to figure that part out. And it's just now hitting us to state, okay, how are we going to streamline this or maybe eliminate a lot of this? Because I do think it's just a lot around teaching and figuring some things out. So I think the meetings are going to slowly, reduce by a lot, but we have a lot of meetings right now.
Well, I would expect that's
tying up resources
introducing something
to do other
new.
things.
Yeah, it's going to need more hands-on until it works itself out. So that doesn't surprise me. Hey, Stephan, I know we're getting near our closing.
We are getting very close to the close, and I really appreciate the time, Stan. This has been an illuminating conversation. I love hearing about how organizations are managing the new approaches, and I think it lines up well with what I'm hearing from customers. Although when I talk to customers and partners and the customers of our partners, it seems that this is driven a lot by maybe attrition or maybe the changing IT landscape from we're trying to simplify things. We're using things like HCI to try to limit the number of things that we need to administer. Maybe we're using Ethernet exclusively instead, even for block protocol, just so that we don't have to figure out how to manage fiber channel infrastructure and fiber channel switches. So not at NetApp scale, but in the smaller organizations, it's like a guild almost happens where you get a server virtualization team that's also doing storage, and maybe it's a couple of folks. But I love these ideas, and I hope some of our audience finds them useful as ways to think about maybe changing up the structure and changing some of the boundaries, the lanes, I suppose is a reasonable way to think about it, to blur some of that and really empower teams. So Stan, thanks so much for the time and for the
Yeah,
conversation.
it'd be interesting to come back in like 6 months and say, okay, we're now into it almost, 3 full quarters. What have you learned? What best practices can you share? So that might be a future podcast.
And hopefully it doesn't go something like this. What was I thinking?
Well, it sounds interesting. I definitely see the agility aspects of it, and definitely appreciate it. And then definitely, especially when you talk about the human capital piece, I think this is what people want. And plus the management gets the agility they need. So I think it's very positive. Really appreciate your time.
Sure thing. Yeah. One last note, our employees, our engineers and our architects, when we first rolled this thought out, I don't think too many people were for it. And then now that they've got to intermingle with each other and they're getting to touch other technologies and understand other technologies, it's almost like they can't get enough of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And
that's
everybody
cool
hates change until they actually go through it. Then they say some of the positiveness of change. So a great way to end the call here. So thanks you very much
for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'd love to hear your feedback. So if you have questions for Stan about guilds that we didn't cover, or if you want a clearer description of guild versus tribe, who wins in a cage match, let us know. Put it in the comments. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Stan.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.